Stop trying to grow everything. It's one of the fastest ways to end up overwhelmed, burnt out, or disappointed with your garden. And no, that doesn't mean you need a boring or a tiny garden, but Pinterest, seed catalogs, Instagram, garden centers, they all make you feel like you should grow everything, or even if they just make you inspired to grow everything. But the best gardens aren't necessarily the biggest ones. They're the ones that fit the person that's growing them. In this video, I'm going to show you how to decide what to grow, not based on trends or pressure, but based on your life. What was actually going to work in your garden. And by the end, you're going to have a clear list, a realistic list of what you can feel confident about and actually have success with. This is actually the first step in planning a successful garden. So before you think about planting schedules or you go out and buy seeds, I want you to ask yourself a few simple questions that we're going to walk through together in this video. We're going to start by creating a list, and then we're going to refine it based on what is actually going to work for you. All right, let's start with the fun part. We're going to brainstorm. We're going to do a little brainstorm of all the things that you're thinking about growing. If you're unsure, I'm going to give you some ideas and questions that can kind of get your creative juices flowing. Think about what you use regularly. What do you cook with? What do you reach for in the kitchen without even thinking? Maybe you make herbal teas. Maybe you love cooking with fresh herbs. Maybe you like Italian food or Mexican food. Start to write down some of those ingredients that you love. Don't worry about whether it's going to fit in your garden. Don't worry about feasibility yet. We're just doing a brainstorm at this point. Next, I want you to think about what you're hoping your garden is going to give you. Maybe you want beauty. Maybe you want flowers, or to increase the aesthetics of your yard. Maybe you want a greater variety of plants. Maybe you're looking for things that you can't easily find at the grocery store or at the farmer's market. I know for me, I tend to grow some of the things that I grew up eating, some of the things that were close to my heritage, things that I never find in the grocery store or even at farmer's markets. I love growing some of those things in my garden. Maybe it's a little bit about money savings. You want to offset your grocery bill. You want to feed your family more of your own homegrown food. Or maybe it's about reducing chemical exposure or even increasing the nutrient content of your food. Growing food yourself lets you control how that food is grown. And then look around for inspiration. Think back to the summer, if it's not summer when you're watching this video, when you go to the farmer's market. What do you naturally gravitate towards? What are you always buying? What kinds of things look interesting that other farmers are growing? What are your neighbors or your friends growing? What are some things that you've seen other gardeners online growing? And then there's one more thing to think about that maybe you haven't already, and that is to include a few easy to grow plants in your garden. You might not know what plants are easy yet, and that's okay. There's lots of beginner-friendly plants that grow in all areas, really. But look around and see what your neighbors are growing, see what's commonly grown around you. I remember several years ago now, when I got my first house, I remember looking over at my neighbor's garden, and they had these really pretty yellow flowers, and they were always bursting all summer long. And I looked over at them, and I remember walking over one day and I asked them, they weren't big gardeners, they were just an older couple. And I said, "What are those yellow flowers?" And they said, "Those are just black-eyed Susans." And the thing is I gravitated towards those because I knew that they were not spending a lot of time in their garden, and I wanted that. I wanted this beautiful, showy yellow flower in my garden. And I looked around me and I saw what other people were growing, and I just asked, right? I got inspiration that way as well. Also, a lot of perennial herbs, things like thyme, oregano, those tend to be fairly forgiving and easy to grow in many areas. So definitely, as you're putting together your list and your inspiration, think about things that you're excited about, certainly, but also have a couple of anchor plants, things that tend to do well in your area without much effort. So grab a piece of paper if you're doing this live, or just think through it in your head. But think about some of the things that you love cooking with, some of the plants that excite you, and considering also like what it is you're hoping to achieve from your garden. Why exactly do you have a garden? And make sure that that's kind of in your mind as you're deciding some of the things that you want to grow. Now at this point, most people stop, if they've even taken the time to think through what they're going to grow. They're just like, okay, I got my list, this is what I'm going to grow. And then they just go and buy everything that's on their list. They have a list that they're excited about, and that feels great. It feels like progress. But it's actually where many gardens silently fail. Not because those people did anything wrong, but because not everything you want to grow is necessarily going to work where you live. And you might also even not want to even take care of everything that you put on your list. So before you start buying or start planning when you want to grow all these things, we need to refine the list a little bit. This isn't to limit you. It's really just to protect your success. The last one though is one that many people don't think about, so stick around to hear that one. You want to make sure that these plants are going to fit you and they're going to fit your garden. First filter. The first thing to think about is how much time you actually have. Not just in the spring when everything feels new and exciting, but through the summer as well. Think about, do you have any other commitments in the summer? Do you travel? Are your summers really busy? And how much time do you actually enjoy spending in the garden each week? If you want help with this part, I actually have a separate video where I walk through different garden sizes and how long they take based on a number of different factors. But for now, just be honest with yourself. How much time do you realistically have, or how much time do you want to spend in your garden each week? Because you want to make sure that your garden fits your life. You don't want to have to mold your life around your garden. The next thing to look at is whether the plant can actually survive your winters. This matters most for perennial plants, things like fruit trees or perennial herbs. Maybe you want to check to see if the plant will survive in the growing zone that you live in. If the plant can't survive the winter without protection, you have options. You can, of course, just cross it off your list, say this thing doesn't work here, I'm not going to plant it. You can plan to protect it. There are actually lots of ways to extend your gardening season and push the boundaries of your growing list, of your growing zone, or you can just treat it as an experiment. In my last video, I talked about growing rosemary as an experiment. It doesn't quite survive my winters here, but I found a variety of rosemary that might, right? It's just on the edge. So I'm going to treat it as an experiment this year, and I'm going to try to grow it. I might also cover it and protect it a little bit more through the winter as well, just to give it that extra protection. But those are the kinds of things you want to think about. You want to be intentional. You want to understand if something's on your list, why it's on your list, and should it be on your list this year. The next thing you want to ask is, does your growing season actually have the right number of days to grow this plant? Do you have enough days in your gardening season? And if it's mid-year, right, and you're deciding what to grow, do you have enough days left, right? You can answer this question at any point in the growing season. But every plant has a certain number of days that it takes to grow. Some plants are shorter, like 30, 60 days, and some plants are longer, like 120 plus days. And sometimes it's not even just the number of growing days, it's the number of growing days in a certain temperature. So there are plants that need maybe 30 or 60 cool weather days. So those are going to be things like, let's say, broccoli, right? Broccoli, if you try to plant broccoli in the heat of the summer, it can bolt. Lettuce is another example. Those plants don't do as well in the heat, so they like a number of cool weather days. Versus something like eggplant is the opposite end of the spectrum. It needs a lot of hot days. So you might have the right number of growing days in your season or left in your season, but you might not have the right temperature. And just one more thing to think about when you look at number of growing days, it's typically calculated to when you can start harvesting the plant. So if there's one plant, like a carrot, that's fine. That's just when you can pick it. But if it's something like tomatoes, where you would maybe keep picking it over a period of time, or beans or peas or something like that, the number of days refers to when you start harvesting. So you want that number of days plus a little bit of a buffer afterwards so that you have time to actually be harvesting the plant. I think the most important part for this particular filter is knowing that if you try to grow something that takes a long time and you have a short season, or if you try to grow something that likes cool weather and you're in a hot Florida summer, or if you try to grow something like peppers or eggplants and you live in a northern climate, know that you could be doing everything right. You could have perfect care, perfect soil, but because the timing was off and because maybe the conditions were off for what exactly that plant needs at that moment, it's not going to work. Because picking the wrong plants for your climate at that time is not a skill issue, it's a timing issue. So you want to try to align the plants that you're growing with your climate. For me, that means things like leafy greens grow very easily here. Herbs, tomatoes, all of those things tend to do quite well without a lot of effort from me in my climate. So I always make sure that I include those. I absolutely include experimental crops as well, but I make sure that I have a couple of those easy to grow plants. I always want to feel successful in my garden, even when I'm experimenting with other plants. I always want to make sure that I feel like, okay, this was a great gardening season. Even if some of the stuff I chose to grow didn't work so well, it's okay. I always have my anchor crops. I always have the ones that I know are going to do really well where I live. The next filter question is, do you have enough sun for this plant? Sunlight doesn't determine whether a plant's going to grow. It determines whether it's going to grow well, or if it's going to produce the fruit or the whatever it is food that you're looking for. If a plant needs full sun and your garden only gets a few hours a day, that plant is going to struggle no matter what, right? You can do again, similar to the timing, you can do everything right. But if the plant doesn't have enough sun, it's going to look like it's growing, it's going to be trying, but it's just not going to produce what it is that you're after. That doesn't mean you can't garden in the shade. You absolutely can. You just have to pick plants that like the amount of sun that you have. And you can get that information online, right? You can find out how much sun something needs. You can look on books. You can do online research. You can use a gardening app like Embrace, where you can filter it all and it kind of guides you through this process step by step. Doesn't really matter what the method you choose is. It's just you should do this step at some point. And then if you find that your area just doesn't have the right amount of sun for you, you can look, do I want to find another, maybe put a bed over in a sunnier spot or in a shadier spot or whatever it is to suit your conditions a little bit better. The last filter is one that we touched on earlier, but it's really important that we kind of revisit this and go through this in a little bit more detail, because I want you to ask yourself honestly how much time you want to spend in your garden. Some plants are very demanding. They need frequent watering, pruning, pest management, or close attention. And other plants are much more forgiving. If you tend to lean towards more of a low intervention permaculture style gardening, where you let nature kind of take care of itself, you probably don't want a garden full of plants that need so much care from you. And if this is your first season and you haven't grown before, you probably don't know what's easy and what's not. Again, you can probably look that up online, look for more beginner-friendly plants. But if you have grown some of these things before, think back, right? This is where journaling really helps, where you write some notes through the growing season to be like, how did this thing do? And especially when you can use that knowledge as guidance for your future years, it's so amazing how much easier and better of a gardener you become. It just expedites the whole process, and you tailor your garden to you. So journaling really helps, because you can look back and you can think back certainly, but it's hard to remember sometimes all these things. So if you look back at some of your notes, like, did this thing grow well? Where did you put it last year in your garden or whatever you grew it last time? And did you enjoy growing it, right? Did you actually enjoy growing this plant? And if not, why not? And is that something that you want to try again and maybe try something differently, or not? Maybe you don't. Because if it feels like work, and you don't want a garden that feels like work, you probably don't want to grow that plant, right? There's so many plants to choose from. You don't need to grow something just because you can or because someone else is growing it. Mismatching your plants to your energy level is one of the fastest ways to burn out or stop enjoying gardening altogether. And that's the last thing I want for anyone. I mean, gardening is such an amazing hobby. There are so many benefits to it. You don't want mismatched plants to be the reason, right? So going through some of these questions, going through the brainstorm and then the filters is really going to give you that perfect match for you. So at the end of this step, your list is probably going to be shorter than when it started, and that's really the point. It's not a bad thing, that's just clarity. This is giving you the best chance of success. It's giving you a list of plants that's going to excite you, it's going to fit your life, and it makes sense for your gardening conditions. And that's a powerful place to be. It's not a place where a lot of people go. So if you actually do this step and you think this through, even just a bit, you will have a better chance of success. You're going to be ahead of the game, for sure. Now, once you have a refined list of what you want to grow, the next step would be, how do you turn this into an actual garden plan? How do you find out where this plant should go in your space, when it should be planted? I walk through that step by step in my video on how to plant a garden, so you can turn your list of plants into a layout and a planting schedule that actually works for you. I'll see you there.